welcome to 30 Minutes with Combat Mission Red Thunder. This is the latest game from Battlefront in their Combat Mission series. Now this is version 3 of the engine. Now when we talk about version 3 we shouldn't get this confused with the generation. When you see CMX2, that is the second generation of games. Started off with Combat Mission Shock Force, but this is version 3 of the engine. Now all the little bits and pieces that are new to the V3 engine, they will be coming to Battle for Normandy and to Fortress Italy in an upgrade within a few months. Now this is our first return to the Eastern Front for this generation of Combat Mission games, and it covers the period June to September 1944, Operation Bagration. It will continue on to the end of the war with further modules and possibly packs. Now you might be asking yourselves, well, why didn't they start at the beginning with Operation Barbarossa? Well, the reason for that is basically they've got the vast majority of the German equipment already done. So from a business point of view, it makes more sense to get this game out first rather than spending another year building everything from scratch. So that we are in a funny position whereby we will see each year of the Eastern Front come out as a new family of games. And essentially going backwards, so the last one will cover the beginning of the campaign between the Germans and the Soviets. Just before I start, I think I ought to say that I won't be doing a battle in this video. We'll try and get this over as quickly as possible. Just to give you highlights of everything that's new and what comes with the game itself. I will be doing videos using Red Thunder, but they'll be separate to this. Right, so battle. Here we go. Now there are 18 battles covering everything from tiny all the way down to huge. Now in this section as well you can see there are 10 master maps, and these seem to be associated with the campaigns. So anyway, okay, so quick battle. In here we can see that we've only got 1944 and the time period is June to September. In terms of regions, we've got the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe. So choosing Soviet Union or Eastern Europe will filter out maps which don't conform to the Soviet Union or Eastern Europe in terms of buildings, etc. Down here we've got the choice of the armies. We've got German Army, Soviet Army and Soviet Guards. Now the allies of the German Army are no doubt going to come in a future module. Right, so let's come out of this. And what we're going to go to is very quickly into the scenario editor. Now this is to show you the number of quick battle maps, and here you can see they are all here, and there are approximately 178 entries here. Now I say entries rather than maps, because say if you look here, Village Forest 007, and there are 2 Village Forest, three entries for 007. Now the 007 is the actual map, but you can see they are different types of battle. So this version is an assault. Go down here again. This version is attack, and it's basically the same maps. It's just it's been, maybe there might be a slightly different setup in terms of the setup zones, and maybe the objectives are changed slightly. So what I'm saying is there are not 178 maps to choose from. There are 178 iterations of various maps, but it still works out to be there's rather a large number of maps. Okay, so the next step, campaign. Now we've got 3 campaigns here. The first one is Blunting the Spear, and this is a German campaign. The second one is Hammer's Flank, and this is a Soviet campaign. Both Blanking the Spear and Hammer's Flank consist of 6 missions. We have the inevitable training campaign, and this consists of 4 missions and is slightly different to the training campaigns you saw in Battle for Normandy and Fortress Italy, in that everything is in this one campaign rather than split into the basic campaign and advanced campaign. What we end up with is the very first mission consists of moving and learning how to shoot things, whereas in the Battle for Normandy and Fortress Italy games that was split into 2 different missions. After that mission there are 3 missions covering a smallish area, and it consists of an attack on a hill and then defending that hill, and then an attack on a village. I realise there are people here that are experienced combat mission players, and I would suggest, you know, still do the training campaign, because you do get 3 extra missions which are rather quite good. Okay, so save game is, there's not much in there really to talk about. Join network game. Now there is a slight change to the multiplayer in that they've added the WeGo turn-based mode of play to multiplayer, but unlike WeGo in single player, you cannot rewind the play to see what happened. Okay, options. They've added the option on music to turn it off, which a lot of people have asked for. Under controls, the main interesting thing, camera configuration, and we can choose from 3 different types. Standard is what we've always had in combat mission. RTS and FPS are RTS and FPS flavoured camera controls. Okay, now the other big one is the scenario editor. Now down here you can see this additional thing called mod tags, and apparently the idea behind this, and it's not explained in the manuals, is that you can associate a certain mod or group of mods, I assume, to a scenario that you have created. So if you are doing some sort of historical scenario and there's a particular uniform you want to use, or maybe there are particular textures used for vehicles, say different type of camouflage or unit insignias. So that's the idea behind that, and it's a welcome addition, I think. Map. Okay, there's a little bit of difference here in the map size. Now, Battle for Normandy and Fortress Italy, they can create a maximum size map of 4 kilometers by 4 kilometers. So one huge square. There has been a slight increase for Red Thunder, and that is it's gone up to 4.256 kilometers by 4.256 kilometers. But unlike Fortress Italy and Battle for Normandy, where you can only go 4 kilometers wide maximum and 4 kilometers deep maximum, Red Thunder allows you to go a maximum of 8 kilometers in one direction as a maximum, which means you can go 2.256 maximum kilometers in the other. So if you want a really big wide front, you could have an 8 kilometer wide battlefield that is 2.25 kilometers deep, which is quite significant, really. So the other thing let's look is that you get the normal tiles specific to the environment, which will be slightly different. But let's go on to foliage, which I think is a little bit of an interesting one, just to give you a comparison. So let's go on to trees. Let's do C, D and E, which is what we've seen before, but now we've got F, G and H. So let's just look at these. And go into the 3D preview. Okay, so as you can see, go top down. We've got the 6 groups, the 3 new ones at the back here, and as you can see, these are the foliage is quite high up. You can see below there's lack of foliage. These ones are quite low but sparse, unlike these trees, which are a little bit thicker. And we have what looks like silver birch, probably wrong here, which are quite nice. So there's a little bit more of a gap in terms of viewing, rather than the heavy forested type for Normandy and Italy. Roads, the usual thing here. Walls and fences. Now I don't quite remember seeing picket and sticks for Normandy and Fortress Italy. So let's just have a quick look at the. Whoops. Excuse my mouse. Just get rid of these quickly. Here, and finally sticks. And this is something you've got to remember, is for the Soviet environment, you get a lot more sort of wooden buildings, etc. So we'll go over, and this is the sticks type fencing. It's the picket fencing, and then basically we've got the wire and the ordinary wooden fencing. Modular buildings, well, let's put a couple up. And independent buildings, let's have a house or two. Commercial, barns, and churches. Okay, so you can see they do look different. It's a very woody building to the Normandy and Italy buildings, as you'd expect, and also the churches got that orthodox look to them. The usual sets of flavour objects, craters, elevation, landmarks, setup zones, etc. Nothing much there has actually changed. Units, you can go in and look at what the units are that have come for the Axis and the Allies, but obviously I haven't checked to see whether the dates filter out any of the units or add any units in. That's something for you to experiment with. Now AI, this has the big new thing to the combat mission games in this generation, the second generation, and that's AI triggers. Now I've started reading up about AI triggers, and I'm going to try and play about with them, and I might do a small video on the basics if it all goes well. But in basic terms, when you create a scenario, you can create 1 to 5 plans for each side. Now, when the scenario starts, just one of these plans will be chosen. It's not a matter of the scenario starts with plan 1, then later on uses plan 2 or alternatives. Only one of these plans will be randomly chosen. And here you have this frequency button which determines how frequently that plan might be picked. Now, I have noticed when I've done plans that I'm not too sure if this frequency really works that well. But anyway, I'm getting towards AI triggers, don't worry. In plans, you can basically paint objectives or positions that you then can allocate groups to move towards. Now, a group is one or more units, so it could be a company, it could be a platoon, it could be a squad, or it could be a couple of squads, a couple of platoons, a couple of companies with tanks, etc. Entirely up to you. So within a plan you have groups, and the plan denotes where the groups go. AI triggers, and I'm just giving you a broad sense because it's not plain sailing. Triggers, basically, if something happens, you can tell a group to perform a certain action, and I suppose the best way of describing that is if, say, an enemy unit occupies a building, you can have a group react to that occupancy, so you could effectively do a counter-attack. I believe you can do things like sort of when one group moves forward and it reaches a certain point, then that could trigger another group to move forward to another point. Sort of things like that. It does open up lots of possibilities for controlled retreating, controlled advance, counter-attacks, etc. So, but take what I'm saying with a little bit of pinch of salt, because I'm just sort of trying to read up on it now. And that basically is it for the scenario editor. So back to the main screen. Now, As I said, I'm not going to do a video of an actual battle. Just like to mention a few things, some of the problems which are just sort of niggly little bugs at the moment. Shaders not quite right. Apparently the correct shaders were not included in the release, but they're trying to get that out to us as quickly as possible. One of the other big new things is regarding casualties. They are now shown and kept on the unit panel for so things like squads, so you can actually, so they don't actually disappear off there if the man dies, whatever. So you know, you can keep a running view of how the squad is faring, because sometimes you might do a scenario and the scenario designer's giving you a 50% squad, and you click on them during a battle and you don't know how many men have actually died really out of that squad, which is a good thing. It's something I've always wanted. But buddy aid, what happens with buddy aid, and I don't know whether this is a bug or something that they've missed, is that if you have a casualty and buddy aid is performed on that casualty, once that buddy aid's completed, that soldier disappears from the unit panel. So you lose that integrity of how many casualties has this unit lost, and that's an annoyance. Another what seems to be a bug is that, as I showed you, there's 3 types of camera controls. You've got the standard, you've got RTS and FPS now. In RTS and FPS, if you right click on a unit, you get up all the choices for commands, movement, attacking, etc. They seem to have missed including that for the standard camera controls. They are aware of it, and will be included in the patch. Apparently it's a quickie, so we might end up with a quick patch. Spotters. Now, as you saw at the beginning of the video, where I've mentioned all the some of the big changes that have gone on, a spotter is only meant to be able to control one mission at a time, whereas before you could, if you've got several mortar teams and artillery, etc., you could splash the whole area as long as he could see them. It's now meant to be only one, but when I was doing a mission, I actually managed to get a spotter to be able to order 2 different mortar locations during the setup. Now, they were on map mortar teams, so I don't know whether this new ruling only applies to off map assets. I don't know, can't be certain. The other thing that I ought to mention is anti-aircraft. As you now know, that they now shoot at aircraft coming into attack. You will not see the aircraft swooping down on the battlefield. Some of the good stuff that I've seen or has been mentioned: tank riders. Now, I've seen videos from beta where you could see the guys standing up and actually shooting from the tank. It's rather nice. Apparently, when they come under fire, they can, under certain circumstances, jump off the tank. I've not actually seen that myself. I have experienced, I've done this, where I've done a movement leg for a tank with tank riders, and then I've just clicked on the soldiers and gave them a quick move to a different location, and when I hit the button to watch the move, the tank rolled forward to its stop point, and then the soldiers got off and ran to the location I designated for them. That was rather nice to see. Something to note: Soviet HQs, They are basically the size of a squad. So you might see a platoon and you've got, say, the Soviet HQ, number 1 squad, number 2 squad, but you've got basically 3 squads. Command and control. Now there is a graphic line going back to the old days of the first generation combat mission games that you can turn on with Alt Z, and this shows you whether which units are in control distance, command and control distance of their headquarters, and where that headquarters is. The line will darken when they go out of command and control. From what I've played so far, I've played a couple of missions, played into the training campaign, and I am enjoying it. There's, as I say, there's a couple of bugs and a little bit disappointed over the casualties. I hope that's just a bug that they've missed and that will be changed, but it's no real biggie for me to enjoy the game, and I think it's a good addition to the combat mission series. And I suppose that's it really for me. So thanks very much for watching.